Alrighty, I'm here with Bill Moore. Bill, thank you for tuning in and making the time here today. Appreciate everything that you've done with us so far. I guess we could just maybe start. How long have you been with Nurp and using the actual products?
So I actually bought my license with Nurp in the end of May of 2024 with a little bit of onboarding and getting my brokerage set up. I started trading about the first week of June in 2024. And a lot's changed. A
Okay.
lot has changed, as you know, since I started trading in June of last year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we have evolved immensely since then. So just so everyone knows, it's August of 2025 now.
Yeah.
So Bill's been with us for a little bit over a year. So Bill, can you just give me and everyone listening an idea of like what your work background is? Like what do you do professionally and how have you generated wealth for yourself?
Yeah, so I opened, believe it or not, the fifth med spa in Dallas back in 2003. I mean, it was literally my closest competitor was like 5 or 6 miles away, and now we've got a med spa on, five on every block in Dallas. So I got into the med spa business in the very beginning. I was very successful with that. I at one point I had four, which is, a lot of people have way more than four, but four was good for me. I was able to manage those myself. They provided me a nice life. I've had a restaurant in the past for a bit. That was a horrible mistake compared to easy money like you get from trading with Nurp. I also, in the past 5 years, developed and patented a procedure for male enhancement. We've got over 30 locations. This is a male enhancement for penile growth enhancement, and I train urologists on how to perform the procedure. And I patented a medical device. It's in FDA clearances right now. So, that's what I do: aesthetics, medical aesthetics sort of procedures and clinics.
Awesome. And what about your investing experience? What do you typically invest in? How long have you been investing and what does that look like?
Well, originally I was, 401, Roth 401, a Roth IRA, or I had a small 401k that I was doing, just very basic. That's what I did the first part of my career, because a lot of us that are business owners, we don't really always have the ability to take very much money and put into a retirement plan, because we're constantly putting money into our businesses when the sale of our business is going to be our retirement plan. So, I wasn't a very savvy investor. And then I got married about 11 years ago, and my spouse is much more of an investor than I am at the time. And we began to put a lot of money into Fidelity with a financial advisor. And, our money was with Fidelity, and we had a pretty large IRA that was somewhere else being managed, but they just weren't doing very much for us. I mean, an example, in 2020, when COVID happened, we had an IRA that had $1 million in it. It went down to 800,000. It slowly got over the course of like 3 years, got back up to a million. At the height of the stock market, just a year ago or whatever, it was a little bit over a million. So over the course of 5 years, this $1 million had made $100,000 for us. So I just wasn't seeing very much. I wasn't seeing a clear retirement coming out of this particular plan. And my stocks and bonds with Fidelity, they just really weren't doing very much. I mean, the market hasn't been great. It had not been great for us the way that it had been invested. I mean, we had made a bit of return, but like 5, 6, 7% per year, and it just wasn't growing at the rate that I wanted it to grow. Of course, everyone wants more money; they want it to grow faster than they can. So I heard about Nurp, and it was so foreign to me. I did not know what a lot size was. I didn't know anything about currency exchange at all. So the first thing that I did was I jumped on YouTube and I just watched as many videos as I could about just learning what the terms of forex trading and different things like that were, just so I could understand a little bit about it. So then during my onboarding process and starting to play with it a little bit myself, I very quickly learned about how this functions and what it means and what it does. But I had zero experience in the very beginning with any type of trading, if you will, with the algorithms or the bots are doing for NERP. But so it was all foreign to me at the time, but now I'm good enough at it so I can, if I bring friends into the company, I'm able to sit with them and help them and teach them and explain a lot of things to them, and they all seem to catch on pretty well. I think that it's something that anyone can learn.
Nice. That's great. So mainly, really, you didn't have any trading experience whatsoever. It was
Zero.
really just stocks and bonds and which was done by an advisor, and then obviously your business, and that's about it. And maybe a little bit of real estate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, great. What algorithms are you using right now, and what have you seen as like performance?
So up until you released the new program about 7 weeks ago, which is the AFT program, I was primarily using the Gold Digger. I had used FedBot in the past, and I
Yeah.
stopped using FedBot. And it's no secret what happened with the Japanese yen back in July. And I was luckily I was new to the program, and so my investment was very low when that Black Swan event occurred in the summer of 2024. So I switched over to gold trading at that time, and it had been doing really well for me. And everybody can go back and they can look at the numbers and they can see what the past returns have been on gold. But I was experiencing anywhere from six to the busiest month that I had was a 14% return on gold. So I was really, really happy with that return. If I could have just maintained 5%, 4%, 4%, 5% per month, compounded, not taking my money out of the account, is growing exponentially fast compared to what my money was doing when it was in the stock market and in the IRA. And by the way, I cashed out of my retirement plans and paying the 10% penalty plus the tax and have put them into your AFT programs because I'm making so much more money in those programs, even knowing that I've got to pay the penalty in the first year plus the tax in the first year and also the tax on the money that I make that year, that it is so much better and much more profitable to be building wealth in the Nurp program than it was even in my tax deferred retirement plan.
That's great. So gold, you said six. Obviously, the outlier month was probably 14%.
14 was the most I've seen. The most I've seen per month was 14. The worst that I've seen was probably 4.5.
Okay, that's so great. Which is from May of 24, so just over a year, would you say?
And I
About?
don't think that I actually got gold
Until
until
July or August?
because there was a time in the summer of last year where the gold bot was being reformatted,
Revamped. Yeah, I
revamped, and
remember.
so I think it
Yeah.
came back online maybe in like September or
Yeah,
so.
that makes sense.
And I think
Okay.
that that's when was able to put my money in gold for the first time.
Okay. So it's almost been a year.
Yeah.
And then what about more recently? I understand you're in Argos, all weather. How are the newer strategies that are super well diversified as far as the assets and strategies that they're trading? How are those performing?
They're killing it, actually. I was just looking at my numbers just before I got on the call with you because I thought you might be asking me some numbers. So, for example, my Argos, I've got 3 Argos accounts. My Argos accounts, I deposited $200,000 into each of those 3 accounts, and then with the multiplier of 5, those became $1 million trading. But I've made just a little over 30% on those accounts in 7 weeks. I'm at $62,000 of profit. So I guess I'm just below 30%. I'm at $62,000 of profit off of $200,000 in 7 weeks. So I mean, I'm thrilled to death with it. I'm actually taking all my profit from my gold accounts each month and I'm moving them over to a new account in the AFT program. So I'm making sure that all my profit goes over into the new AFT accounts. I'm just going to build those, have more and more
Nice.
and more of
That's awesome.
those.
Great. Are you using that more of like I understand you're funding those accounts, but after those accounts start producing, are you using this as more of like a cash flow vehicle to feed a lifestyle, or are you
This is
using it to compound?
this is my first this month, July. So August the 1st, I took a fair amount of money out for the first time, and I'm going to begin to take that amount of money out every time. But I mean, I'm just going to tell you clearly what I did. So I made $305,000 in the month of July, and I've set myself a budget of $80,000 that I can take out of that every month. And so I'm probably going to do a little bit more than $300,000 this month because I left. If I took out 80, that means I left 220,000 in. That is more money building this month than it was last month. More money to trade off of. So I'm
Yeah.
expecting a higher profit this month, and I'll take a percentage of that out, but it will be a higher profit that will be produced in the month of September. So
Because of the
every month
compound.
I'm gonna it's changing so fast every month.
Yeah, that's great. That's impressive. So when you say I did 305, that means you did $305,000 in profit in July.
Yes.
Okay, wow. And do you know about how much, like what percentage that is out of all the total amount of money that is deposited?
That was just above 10% of how much money was in that account when it started.
Okay.
And so that
Um,
takes that factors in that gold was not a great month last month.
kind of slow.
It was not great. And so I made close to 16% on my Argos accounts last month.
Yeah.
And then when I average that out with I think it was like 4.5, maybe 3 to 4.5% or so. I have to look back and remember that for sure. But when it all averaged together, it was right around 10% for all the money that was invested across the board.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and I think that that's what's important for people to understand is like obviously any type of investing has some type of risk. And what I really like about hearing from you is that you're not only using multiple different strategies like all weather and Argos and the gold digger, which are three core strategies we focus the most on, but you're also in different brokers too. So you're using multiple different brokers. You've got money spread across there. So that 305,000 is probably spread across the in profit. That's 10% of the money that's spread across the brokers and the different strategies. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I am using four brokers. I'm using Blaze, Fusion, Ox Securities, and Global Next Trade, GNT. Everyone's not able to do that. Unfortunately, I have a residency in another country. And so I was able to use my utility bills and my residency card and my address and my deed and that sort of thing to be able to set up some brokerages that aren't always available to Americans. So I
Yeah.
was lucky that way. But I'm definitely glad to be able to be diversified across multiple brokers with multiple
Yeah.
platforms, strategies.
Yeah. It's a smart thing to do. So I know you did, what do you, just in July it was 10%. I know you're relatively new to the AFT program, so that could impact things, but what do you think is like what about in like June and previous months? Like, do you think that 10% is realistic to do, or what do you think is like a realistic like baseline return that you think you could achieve in
Well,
this program?
I don't think that I could have necessarily achieved 10% across the board until you release the AFT programs.
Yeah.
I had not been able to do that. And honestly, my
So in like
smaller,
Intelligent Trader, what do you think the average monthly was in just Intelligent Trader?
well, I wasn't using Intelligent Trader.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was just using Goldbot.
Oh, okay. Got it. So you were still between, probably averaging around 8% or 7%.
I was between 6 and 7% on average
Okay.
with
Okay.
Gold
That's
Digger.
still great. Yeah. Okay. And then that bumped up because you joined AFT. Now you're around the 10% mark total when you factor in everything.
Yeah, and as I move more money over into the AFT prop accounts,
Good.
that
Good enough.
percentage is going to go higher and higher and higher because it was my goal that brought it down in the month of
Yeah.
July because it had a low return. As I get more money out of gold and move it over into the AFT programs, I expect that percentage to go up each
Yeah,
month.
that's great. Awesome. How much time do you spend managing the accounts? It's something a lot of people, it's hard to comprehend these types of strategies and the type of investment, but you're doing an exceptional return, it sounds like. So how much time are you actually spending on this?
Okay, so there's two ways to answer this question. How much time do I have to spend, or do I actually spend changing settings and managing it? That's really zero. How often do I look at the platform? Every hour. And it's because I'm addicted to looking to see how much money it has made that day. It literally has turned into this. I'm probably going to have therapy to seriously to figure out a way to not look at it. It's just the weekends that I'm taking a break from it. Like if I get up and go, if I go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I pick
You're
up my
checking.
phone and open the page and see how much money that I've made during the night because I find that I generally make more money while I'm asleep than I do during the day. I don't know why that is with the market with the timing, but for some reason it seems that the majority of my money is made from like the time that I go to bed, sometimes to the time that I wake up in the morning. And I just feel like that's where there's a huge jump in the amount of money for the day that shows up, the money that's been profited that day. So I look at it a lot, but that's a personal choice that I do that. It's not that it's required by any means.
Got it. Okay. So on the management side, like as far as settings and you putting in
I
manual
don't touch them.
things, you don't
I
really
don't
do
touch them.
anything. Okay.
No.
And are you running on like a typical lot multiplier, or are you going more aggressive or less aggressive? Have you adjusted the position or the equity stop loss at all?
I have adjusted the multiplier on gold. I'm at 2.2 on gold. With my Argos and my all weather, I'm following your instructions. I think I'm at zero point 0.6 for the all weather prop account, and I'm at zero point 0.8 for the
Argos.
multiplier for the Argos. And I'm not going to change that. I know that that's really important that that stays exactly where it is. I'm willing to
Yeah.
take the risk on the gold account for a higher multiplier. And even when we've gotten 4 trades deep using the martingale strategy, I've not dropped down one time in the entire time that I've been doing this. My margin dropped down to like 50% one time.
Mhm.
And that was,
Yeah.
there was a trade that was occurring like around Mother's Day, and it was a rough one. And gold jumped up because of something that was maybe said in the States about that made the dollar fluctuate. And we had a hard time getting out of that trade. But it's still at that point, it was only down, it was just a 50% drawdown. It was an unrealized drawdown, and
Yeah.
I didn't lose any money on it. But that was the biggest scare that I've had, and that wasn't that big of a scare.
Yeah.
But we were
Yeah.
4 trades deep last week, and my equity only got down to like 82%.
Hmm. Nice. That's great. Yeah, so that's pretty healthy for 4 trades on
Yeah, it's
gold.
very healthy for
And
4
that's the
trades.
thing, like I think it's important for people to understand the strategies. Like what I love to hear about your story is you started pretty slow with us. And then as you got more comfortable and as we continue to innovate, you then are spreading your risk and then understanding, okay, this is how this one fluctuates, this is how this one functions. Let me be a little bit more aggressive on this one relative to that. And that's exactly what I do too. I mean, for the most part, I run on default, but I do run smaller account balances and then increase the multiple because I'm okay with that risk. And it sounds like you're kind of doing the same thing, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I am. Something I'd like to say, if you'll allow me to, is and anyone that's watching this is not, we have not discussed this. This is not scripted. Um, I've tried to bring a few friends into this because I want my friends to be able to have a nice lifestyle as well, and to have an easy life, and to be able to, enjoy things. And a lot of times people will see some negative reviews on Trustpilot or some things like that. I've read through a lot of these reviews. I truly believe that a lot of these reviews were written by people who had not experienced your product, because the comments that they've said, that the things that have happened couldn't happen with the way, or the examples that they gave of what happened to them is not something that would have happened with your strategy. And I've, by the way, had purchased Cravado. I got my money back because I did not make the returns that I was promised. I purchased Algo Exchange, which trades on futures, and I did that because I wanted to be able to trade my money that was in my IRAs here in the U.S. But it was began to lose an incredible amount of money as soon as I bought it. That I actually stopped using them as well. And then I looked at a company called True Trade, which ended up being of my opinion, from what I could read on Reddit posts and that sort of thing, a pretty big scam. But I think that the platform is not the same. Even if some of those things that were written about Nurp when the Black Swan event happened in July, your platform is not the same as it was then. It doesn't function the same, and the risks, in my opinion, are not the same. And there's more protection for the accounts than there were at the time. So I'm not afraid to put larger amounts of money into it now because of the way that the program has changed and the way that the platform has changed, and it's gotten better and it's getting better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you've seen it for yourself, all the changes, new strategies, the dashboard that we have, the equity protection changes, all those things have gotten leaps and bounds ahead of where they were last year, and we're going to continue to innovate. So appreciate your support there and that feedback, which goes to my kind of my next question is, what do you think is like a prudent allocation to actually put into like quantitative algorithmic trading? Obviously, it's a little bit more speculative. Anytime you're shooting for a higher return, there can be more risk involved. So how do you think about your overall investment portfolio and like what piece of this, what does this represent of your investment portfolio? Is it a very large portion? Is it a smaller portion? How do
It
you look at that
is.
as like allocation?
It is about 25% of what I'm worth. is what we have in there now. It did not start like that. It started, my first deposit was $20,000, and then I added 50, and then I added another 100. And then 3 months later, I added 300. And then, I had 1 month that I was feeling really good about it whenever the new platform had came out, and I brought in another million. So it took some time and some comfort for me to get to where I am now, but I'm very comfortable. And I would not be afraid to put more money into it by any means, but I've got enough money in it now that it's producing me, as you heard earlier, $305,000 a month. That is plenty of money in there, and I can be safe and diversified and keep money in other places that are much lower producing streams of income. But everyone here at the house is comfortable with the way that it's been broken down, and
Yeah.
so I feel good about it. Without a
That's
doubt.
great. Yeah, thanks for that feedback because it just helps other people understand their potential allocation too. And everyone's different. So no one can say, oh, yeah, this is the right percentage to have of your portfolio into this. It just depends on your risk level and your goals and everything. But I think that that's what you just really kind of soft reference is something called a barbell allocation, which is where you're really safe with a pretty large portion of your portfolio. And then on the opposite side, on the other side of the barbell, you're much more aggressive. So you're kind of balancing your risk and return by having, safer investments over here, and then you've got much higher risk, but you're shooting for a much higher percentage gain. And that's actually what I'd like to do too. So we're pretty close there.
If I lost all the money, and it's not going to happen. I mean, it could happen, but I don't anticipate this happening. But if I lost everything that I have in the trading platforms, I would be sad for a few days, but it would not change my lifestyle. It would not alter the things that I'm able to do, and it would not alter that much about my retirement plan of what I had before I came on with Nurp. In other words, I would retire exactly the same if everything crashed with Nurp that I would when I started Nurp. It would not have set me back. I would not be in a different place retiring if I lost everything that I have with you right now.
Yeah, I always say that all the time. No one investment should ever put you in a place where it dramatically changes your life, and that's the end of your, investing career. So I'm glad to hear that. Who would you say that this product is like a good fit for? Obviously, you sound to enjoy it, but what do you think is the overall typical person that would get value from this? And maybe even a better way to answer it is, who is this not a good fit for? Because maybe if we get rid of who is not a good fit for, we know who it's good for.
I think it's a good fit for most people. I think that there are some people who have really high levels of anxiety and they can't manage their anxiety very well, that this might be a little bit scary for. And I don't necessarily think that it is for everyone just because some people cannot handle stress. And it's not that it's that stressful, Jeff. It's just that whenever like gold goes into four trades, there's a bit of anxiety for the 2 or 3 to 4 days that it's in those 3 to 4 trades deep, and you're waiting for the price of gold to drop so that you can sell out of those trades. It can
Mhm.
be a little bit stressful. Now, the nice thing about the AFT program is I had zero worry or concern with those. There's more trades, there's small trades, and if something's going to happen to those trades, it's not going to bring my account crashing down. So I
Yeah.
think that if someone is doesn't handle stress very well, that they should definitely skip the original type of bots and go directly into your AFT program because it's much more hands off. I don't think about that. I don't look at what trade is open and looking at what my take profit is and watching for the price of gold on my app to see how close I am and have an alarm set when I'm getting close so that I know when the trade is going to close. I mean, it's nothing like that. I do all that sort of stuff with gold. And I like that. That's fun for me. I thrive on that. But some people don't thrive on that. So they're going to be
Yeah.
better off doing the AFT program. And I think that the AFT program is for everyone. I really do. As long as people have the ability to purchase the license for it, and they've got to have something to get into it. And I've recommended to my friends at least $100,000
Okay.
to start if they really want to see some good profit. The ones that are a little bit more skeptical, I tell them to start with 20. But the ones who have deeper pockets, I tell them to go ahead and put in 100,000 and see what it's going to do. You're going to be happy with it, and you're going to increase it next month. The ones that have more shallow pockets and the money's tighter for them, I always recommend that they start with 20. But that's about all you really need to see some nice change. My office manager started with 20. very skeptical, and that was in June of last year. And she's had such an amazing year that she has moved the majority of her stuff over. She's older than I am. She doesn't have quite as much time to make her retirement, and she got a little bit of a late start, and she's doing great. And I'm about to get her over into the AFT program, out of gold into the AFT. The return is higher. There's less stress. I think she's going to be a lot happier when she gets converted over into the AFT.
Sounds almost exactly like my mom. I mean, she's not a millionaire by any stretch of the word, and she's working on building up her retirement funds right now, and she's running our products. I just moved her into AFT actually
Good.
a month ago, so it sounds like pretty much the same thing. What, how many referrals, like how many people have you actually sent over and kind of recommended the product to?
I think I've got 9 of my friends now that are trading with you.
Wow, that's great. We appreciate that. And that was just from people that that you think, have over $100,000 and are looking
They
for
didn't all
higher.
start with that. I can think of one, two, three, four. 4 of them started with less than 100. 3 of them started with 20, and the 4th one started with 50. And they
Okay.
are slowly getting more comfortable with it. They're all still trading gold because you've just released the AFT program to the public. I was one of the early adopters that you offered that to me before it was available to the public. And so I've been in it longer than everyone else has been open to it. So now they're just now getting the opportunity. But I know that 3 of them are in the process. They're messaging me on a daily basis about what I think about it, and I think that they're about to follow suit and move into the FT program as well.
Anything else that you think I didn't ask you that would be beneficial for someone that's trying to understand if this is a good fit for them?
I just think that they need to know that, your customer support is really good. I get an email back. If I send an email in, I get a response back immediately. I work with Jordan. I work with Brandon. They're both amazing. So the support is definitely there. I think that if they've read anything about the customer support is not great, I'm not sure there's anything that's out there about that. That's not true. That would have to be some competitor writing stuff about you. But the customer support is great. The onboarding has always been really easy and been very thorough for me. And they've always been very helpful with helping me understand getting a brokerage set up and taking me from the very beginning to execution because I literally did not know anything about this. I didn't understand anything about it. And one of the things that people can't grasp is like that you guys don't have possession of the money. And I keep trying to explain that they can't get your money. And I've got 2-factor authentication set up 3 levels deep on my brokerages. So nobody's getting to my money until it goes an email one-time code, a texted one-time code, and then a one-time code through my Google Authenticator. So, I mean, nobody's getting to my money. And you guys are sending a signal to my broker and telling it when to open and close trades. You're not into my account. I think that people need to understand that a little bit better because they feel like it might be like some pyramid scheme or it sounds too good to be true. It really does sound too good to be true, but it's not. It really is true, and it's safe. I believe it's safe. My money is safe. I think that someone should consider all those factors. I mean, we've had banks crash here in the U.S. Your money's not totally safe, completely 100% safe anywhere you
Yeah,
put
there's
it.
always risk. Yeah,
There's always risk,
100%.
no matter where it is.
And there's always counterparty risk. Even with your cold storage Bitcoin wallet, you might lose the seed phrase and kapoof, there it goes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bill. Appreciate the time. Any last words you think would be helpful?
No, I appreciate you having me. You can have me back, and I can speak about anything you want anytime.
Yeah, let's catch up maybe in 6 months and we'll see how your returns are tracking relative to where you're at, which is again today's in August of 2025.
Yeah,
Thank
perfect.
you,
Let's do
Bill.
that. All right. Thank you. Take care.